Welcome to the Self-Defense Company's Kill or Be Killed 20-minute webinar. I'm your host, Damian Ross, along with George Hutchings. George, how you doing today, my brother?
Can't complain, my man. Can't complain.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, everybody, this is being recorded. Please feel free to submit your questions. And if we can't get to your question, it's not a big deal. We'll make sure we'll get to them on the post when we put up the recording. The topics are chosen by your submission to the email customerservice@theselfdefensecode.com. To have your questions selected for an upcoming program, just submit it with the subject line, webinar question. Please limit it to 1 or 3 questions. Don't write a book or a novel. My reading comprehension isn't what it used to be. So today's topic, how to tell when you're going to be attacked before the actual attack happens. Now, George, I got to tell you, this is a great topic, and it's really the first reason I was attracted to combatives in the self-defense training system. This is an area where most experts neglect and even ignore. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, a lot of the programs that are out there, it's focused on techniques. It's focused on what to do at the time when you're being physically assaulted, when you're being grabbed, whatever. Just, you got to be aware of what's going to happen. You need to be aware of yourself at all times. Don't allow it to get to that. If it's already at that point, you've already fucked up.
Right. Right. It's funny. You mentioned exactly, you hit it. It's all self-defense training starts after he actually attacks. And, if you're up against a good street fighter or a career criminal, he's used to using violence to get his way. The fight at this point is usually over and you are not the winner. Of all the fights and attacks I've experienced both in my personal and professional lives, I never saw an attack or a fight happen like I was taught in martial arts training. I never lined up, no one ever grabbed me, no one ever waited for me to react. I mean, this reminds me, of the scene in Lake Placid where Oliver Platt's character squares off with the sheriff, and the sheriff just hauls off and punches him in the face. And, Platt says, he never said go. In karate, we say go. And it's as funny as it is, that demonstrates a fundamental issue with how you train in martial arts, because fighting in martial arts across the board is consensual. When you compete or you spar, you line up and he says go, and you both agree to fight under agreed upon rules at an exact moment in time. Even when you practice self-defense, what do? You line up, one person's the attacker, the other's the defender. If he agrees, when he agrees to attack, you agree to defend. He agrees to lose, you expect to win. All right. The world isn't so black and white. And so when you see these things over and over again, it's like I'm watching, you'll watch these techniques and you'll watch these, whatever the hell, pick anything on YouTube, whatever. And it just shows the attack. And to me, again, the fight is already over. I mean, it's what happens up to that attack. It's all a gray area. It's not black and white. And if you're educated properly, you're not going to be caught off guard and placed at a severe disadvantage. And today we're going to take care of that for you. No one in the street says go. I mean, the problem, it's like, here I come, I'm ready to attack. I mean, when I was the first learner of self-defense, we do the stick 'em up bullshit. Some guy would be like, okay, stick 'em up, get ready. They're smoother than that. They're going to try to disarm you. They're going to try to dissuade you. They're not going to try to make you feel like, you're being attacked, unless someone's trying to intimidate you and it's a bully or a bar brawl bullshit type of situation. So, the problem with all this and what we're seeing in our self-defense training that we learn in martial arts, it's based on, the attack counter model. You stand in front of your partner, he attacks you, you counter. Well, we all know a few things, and I think everyone on this call will agree. I mean, it never happens like this in the street. It's never a single solitary attack. He doesn't, he doesn't attack you and wait for you to respond. I mean, it's a barrage of attacks. It's a wave of violence. It's not grab your wrist and wait. It is him bearing down on you to get what he wants from you. And the problem is this type of training creates a very unreal expectation as to what an attack really is. Attacks are violent. Attacks are messy. Attacks are one-sided. You're either being attacked or you're the attacker, whether you're defending yourself or not. Once someone attacks you, they don't stop. And that's that's the problem, because it's training you to wait to be attacked. It's training you to let them into your personal space. And against a real dangerous person, this is all they need. So we say one shot leads to two, two leads to three, and three leads to the floor. You are out for the count. I mean, you'll never, ever, ever be able to react in time. This attack block crap. It works when you're standing in the gym with your partner. Again, based on consent. You're the attacker. I'm the defender. You go. I block. Okay, this is what we're practicing. Even if you're doing in something that appears to be random, it's so choreographed and programmed into you that both of you you can tell what the attack is because you've rehearsed it so many times. It's like it's movie fighting. And add to that, the intent isn't there. Your partner's not trying to freaking kill you. He's trying to make you better. And there's a huge difference. And even in sparring, when you're sparring, where you expect to fight, you expect to deal with only one attacker using a specific set of techniques. It's not like his corner is going to jump in and start stabbing you, right? I mean, this is, you're not, even we're, okay, well, we're lined up, we're in the ring, we're in the octagon. Yeah, I know he's only going to be throwing like one of 6 hand techniques, maybe 4 or 5 leg techniques. And then when he gets in, we're going to close. And then, when I'm done, the ref's going to like pull us apart, or I'm going to tap and I'm going to go home. And I hate to use the term, this is the street, because it's so damn cliche, but this is the street. You're not sure if the guy in front of you is even going to attack. And that's like half the problem. And that's why we're here. And when he does attack, there's always that oh shit moment. And I don't care if you're working a job, you're a cop, you're in the military, you're a bouncer. I'm telling you right now, when you expect trouble and the guy's actually going for it, the thing you say in your mind is like, holy shit, he's actually going for it. So there's, even when you're ready and you're amped up and it's your job and you're supposed to be there to deal with violence, there's a moment there where you're flipping the switch, and that's processing what you're seeing. So now take a step back. You're going to your car. You're thinking about all the other bullshit you got going on in the day. You're thinking about everything but what's going on. And some skell comes up to you, and he's looking for freaking. He lost his phone. He lost his dog. I don't know what the hell he wants, but he's gonna look to get in your space. And that's where we gotta figure this out. And that's where we gotta draw the line. And again, these guys don't pop out of nowhere. The attack is actually the last part of a self-defense situation. Like I keep saying, before any attack, there's a size up. Here, your threat is trying to determine if he or she can get what they want from you without being caught, being injured or identified or killed. So your self-defense actually starts way before the actual attack, and for most people can be completely avoided, just by paying attention. We cover this in self-defense training system module 1. Everyone on here who's trained in it knows it. Most of what we're talking about today is like first day stuff. Module 1, units 1 through 5, right? This is, you are, paying attention, looking around. Like we just had posted that video today, that the guy in the freaking subway getting jacked. There's nothing seemingly random in this world. All right. That guy was looking at his target, and he's like, whatever. Maybe you said, like, maybe reminds him of the guy that just took his job. Maybe just didn't like the way it looked. Who knows? And he took his day out on him. So, even then, there's always signs he's going to attack. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is like physical cues a guy's going to attack. So essentially what we're talking about is how someone starts to act before they engage in use of force or physical violence. And this is what we're talking about is fight or flight response, or the effects of that SNS or sympathetic nervous system activation. I mean, this is huge in what we do in the self-defense training system, because this is what happens, and these are the parameters within which you can operate. All right. So a couple, there's like, I don't know, one time I learned 150, 180 things that were happening to the body on a molecular level. And to be honest, they're all kind of whatever. I'm not a doctor, even though I played one on TV. But I, and I love when martial artists like to quote science without being scientists. So, I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna just we'll just keep it really simple. One of the things your attacker is gonna do is he's gonna become nonverbal. So when your SNS kicks in, you lose your ability to reason. For lack of a better term, you're switching from a human brain to your animal brain. So your ability to form sentences becomes extremely limited, and you lose control. You lose cognitive thought. So he's not gonna be the one that is. And everyone who's wondering what the hell that was, that's George's dogs. So he muted his microphone. So anyway, where were we? So he's going to become nonverbal. He's not going to start talking. Now, there's one thing we do in Module 1, especially if you're confronted by multiple attackers, and you can operate this on either side of the coin, because we do this in law enforcement and guardian police combatives. You've got one person that's engaging the subject and talking to him, and then you've got 2 or 3 other subjects around him, 2 or 3 other officers around him that are ready to spring into action. They're not saying shit. So one person who's talking is getting your attention. The other person or other people are setting you up. So put this into a street situation. So now you got one guy that's in front of you. He's distracting you. He's getting your attention, and then you got the other guy who's gearing up to just take you out. So if you're going to hit one guy first, you don't hit the guy talking. You don't hit the guy getting in your face. You hit the guy standing next to him that's sitting there gritting his teeth. Which brings me to my next point. So when that adrenaline starts dumping, he can't stand still. He's going to be moving. He needs to get rid of it. Action is the only thing that gets rid of it. Whenever you got a close call, especially when we were working, the one thing I want, you had to do something, push-ups, pull-ups, start getting on the weight pile. You got to get rid of that adrenaline dump if you don't have any place to get rid of it. So he's going to want to freaking move. In some cases, he'll even take off his coat or a shirt, and it's not because he wants to, it's not because he wants to look big. It's a lot of times it's because he just doesn't want to feel constricted, excuse me, and he wants to move. When I was a young man, one of my good buddies, I knew we were going to get in a fight because I would turn around and see the dude like half naked. So you never went full Monty, but my buddy would be sitting there with his shirt off. I'm like, okay, here we go. So those are two major cues that someone is getting ready to attack before the attack actually happens. But I'm going to tell you, there's a much easier way to do this, even if you miss all the cues, even if you know what you're looking for, even if you get everything we had in this conversation. And we cover this in like the first lesson of Module 1 of the self-defense training system. It comes down to distance. Distance. If you set your distance at the magic mark, if we're in a class, I'd make everybody repeat it, and that he's far enough away from you that in order to touch you, he needs to shift his weight. That is all you need. Okay? So again, I understand, there's certain situations where you're too close, where you're, and that's why, we have the different interview stances and things like that. But again, in a perfect world, it's all about distance. Once you set your distance, okay, and again, in order for anyone to impose their will on you, they need to get close to you. This is why in a defensive situation, you need to set your distance. You need to draw the line in the sand, and just with a command, I can hear you fine from there. That's it. And then if they cross a line, you either escape or attack. You need to create a go or no go condition. Because again, there's only one reason they're closing in on you, and it ain't to give you a hug, unless it's a bear hug to slam you off the concrete or into a delivery van. And I have to tell you, when I first learned this basic tactic, this basic concept, a light went off in my head and everything started to come clear as to what I experienced in my life. I mean, you're not getting into a fighting stance. You're not doing any of that crap. Okay? Because as soon as you put your hands up and indicate that you want to fight, he knows there's a problem. And if somebody indicates, and I'm going to tell everyone right now, and I teach my kid this, like if someone puts their hands up and wants to get a fighting stance, the first thing I say to him is like, yo, dude, I don't want to fight. I don't have a problem. Okay. And then you go in, you close the distance, and you go to shake their hand, and then what you do next is up to you. So, there's easy ways to disarm people who are willing to get in a stupid fighting stance. And what you want to do is don't fall down that trap. And that's why we're here, is to learn how to manage this and how to react to it. I don't get in a fighting stance. Again, we don't fight shit. I'm not going to spar you, right? I'm going to tell you anything I need to know. I mean, Fairburn was even, using deceit, and artifice. It's like you want to be a cagey, slippery SOB. And then you want to, get him to believe that there's not a problem and to realize there's a problem when it's way too late. So you never, ever, even especially if you're in law enforcement or security, you never want to posture or get in somebody's face like that. Never. And you want to you got to maintain a professional demeanor. And then when he comes at you, you were attacked. And this gets to the legal liability issue. And I'm going to tell you why it's 100% okay to do this. Okay, again, like I said, the same thing with the doctor. First, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know if you remember the commercials, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So, however, it just so happens that two of my best friends are criminal attorneys, and the other one is a federal judge who used to specialize in use of force law as an attorney. So I have a decent understanding of what it requires, especially in the state of New Jersey, and it's a pretty universal sense. And if you can justify it here, you can justify it anywhere, because this is like what I call the Republic of New Jersey. So now you should remember that no matter what you do to defend yourself, there's a good chance you might wind up in court, whether it's some, flippy, whippity do, twisty wrist bullshit, or you drive your foot through their sternum. All right. So, and for our elite members, I created that document, the blueprint of how to present your case. And I'll resend it again, and I'll make sure that everybody gets it who, is an elite member, about how you set it up and how you manage it after the fact. But the general law regarding self-defense is this. You have the right to defend yourself, others, and your property if you feel the threat has intent, opportunity, and the ability to harm you or your loved ones or your property. Okay? It says nothing about waiting for him to throw the first punch or grab you. Doesn't even say anything about using a weapon. Okay, the term reasonable force comes up a lot, and this is where my concealed carry friends get into trouble, because immediately jumping into deadly force will be a problem. I mean, George and I were just talking about this, the knucklehead on Facebook who said, well, I don't need all this. I'll shoot you from 30 feet away. Yeah, I'm a freaking moron. I'm like, what I love about that is, again, I've had a concealed carry in New Jersey. I've got firearms. I mean, it's part of the self-defense thing. But, to listen to people is like, all I need is my gun. Right. Judges and juries, even in Florida and Texas, are going to want a convincing argument that your life is in real danger. Remember George Martin down in Florida, who killed that kid who was literally bashing his head off the concrete? Right. I mean, he suffered a huge beating before he used his firearm. So, be prepared that there's a lot that's going to happen. And again, we talk about that gray area. So you need a lot of time to acquire your target and to draw your weapon. And you need to be 100% honest, 100% sure that the guy's trying to kill you, and then you got to prove it in court. So if a guy's getting in your face and you're arguing over a parking spot and you shoot him, well, I think you're going to have a problem. But if you're using close quarter hand-to-hand skills or appropriate weapons that we talk about in module 5, module 9, and module 11. So you know what I'm talking about. And completely, and then there's the biggest point I have, to be completely honest with everybody. When it comes to self-defense in the law, it's not so much as to why you did it or when you start, as to how you finish, right? Think about that. If you use excessive force, you will be found guilty of manslaughter or aggravated assault. It's important to defend yourself when you defend yourself until you feel there's no longer a threat, and then you stop. You know, we're not James Bond. You don't have the right to take a life or any of that bullshit. That's all. What happens, happens. So you've got the why, if the guy looks possible, and then how you start is not so much important as how you finish. So if you're, you know, if a guy's down and you curb mouth him, well, yeah, you're gonna have a problem. Okay, but if you take a guy out or whatever, you stop the threat. Excuse me. So you stop the threat, and the guy, and that's it, and you walk away and you follow that steps I gave you afterwards. You know, you're gonna have a good defense. You're gonna have a good defense. I mean, if you believe your life is in danger or that or someone or your property, then you can do it. You know, I realize there are a lot of gray areas here, but that's why lawyers get paid to do what they do. But make no mistake, anything you do can be scrutinized. And look at us, we are at the 20-minute mark. So if we didn't get to your questions, it's no problem, and just email them to customer service at theselfdefensecode.com. You know, I will have this posted shortly where we can continue the discussion online. Again, thanks everyone for being here. It's been my pleasure. And until next time, as always, train honestly.